Happy Friday. We're live again. And today I wanted to pull forward something I did back in March of 2024. So over a year and a half ago. And I had done a video, and it was a short about 5 mistakes people make when they start freelancing. And it was fine. But with a short, you get about a minute. And I felt like this would be a good opportunity to elaborate on that, because I was reminded after having a couple of discussions really in the last week about not just getting started, or that is something someone chatted with me about. It was about services businesses, and there's fear, mostly of AI and automation, I think, about service businesses, certainly agencies, small agencies, freelancers, kind of being commoditized or pushed out. And I think the fear largely is over the middle. There'll always be super custom $1 million jobs, I think, for the most part, although I imagine those will be different too. And then taste, expertise. We're a long way from AI being able to make decisions discretionary to outcomes that require more nuance. And I thought, well, there are 10. I'm going to do 10. There are 10 reasons, 10 things people get wrong when they start freelancing. And I'm going to go through them here 10 to 1 or 10 to 1 and and elaborate on what I had shared in the short is fine, but I think that there's more to it than that, and this would be a better opportunity. And plus, you can leave comments under these live videos and archive videos, which is very different. We could have a back and forth here, a discussion. So with that, number 10, time off, forfeits, income. It's interesting to think about that as a waste product of antiquated time and materials billing. I've been an advocate for productization of services for a long time. I've literally been selling a productized service offering for 3 years. And even transitioning to a done with you cohort version of my process, it's still a matter of scaling expertise. And the challenge is, if you haven't illustrated or provided a product that can be purchased without you being on the phone, or if deliverables can't be delivered without you delivering them yourself. And I got another one on that in a minute. Time is the only thing that you have to sell. And the problem with that is, when you take a day off, as you know, if you're getting billed hourly, you don't get paid. Now, you can have a long-term project, and that long-term project, you could take a day off here, bail early on a Friday, spend some time with your cat or your family or whatever. But that project is still a one-off thing, and that is still a fixed amount of income based on whatever, or revenue, however you want to look at that, based on whatever the span or scope of the project is. So you can take time off. The problem is if all you're doing is billing for time and hours, you are reducing or moving when that time is being used. So time off, you need to go to a dentist on a Wednesday, your face is numb, and you're going to have to work Saturday if you plan to get 20, 30 billable hours in that week. So no matter what, it's a shell game. But when you move away from billing for time, the correlation isn't as direct. That's all I'm saying. So number 9, can I hold up a 9 here? Is most people, and this isn't just digital people like me, online workers, what would you call it? Like knowledge work? It isn't just that. You could install tile, and look, if you don't know when the client will come back, that's number 9. I don't know if or when the client will come back. And it's totally common from a project billables, project style engagement standpoint for this to be the case. There are 2 problems inherent with this. One, when you're working on a project, you're rarely marketing your business. You're heads down, banging out the work. So the time you need to be marketing is usually months in advance. So when you come out of a big project, suddenly you're like, I don't have any work. Panic. Turn on the open for work ribbon on LinkedIn, or quick, put out some content. And then it takes time for all those things to really start seeding your pipeline. The second one is if you haven't set up a system for continuous support or for contact communication and managed CRM type of thing where you have content and engagement going out, and you don't have a system for communicating availability, accessibility, and opportunities, then yeah, it can be really hard to know when someone's going to be coming back. You can build in checkpoints or comeback points with any kind of a project. Like, look, we've published this thing, we've made this thing, we've installed this thing. And what we're going to do is 90 days from now, check in, see how it's going. And if there needs to be changes, tweaks, repairs, fixes, whatever, we'll make those. Then you can continue to do that and schedule those in. As long as you're providing great service, people will normally appreciate that. I wanted to add another thing to that, which would be to say, if you schedule long-term check-ins, make sure that the value is really high. But any check-in is usually a really great opportunity. What you'll find with like really successful salespeople, like people that don't work in fulfillment, they just work in new business for any company. They typically value any legitimate opportunity to reach out to a client. Like, hey, we updated our service to include this, or hey, we have these new materials, or hey, we have this new tech, or whatever. It's people don't like to hear from sales people in general. Clients, brands, leaders don't want to hear from salespeople unless they have something valuable to share, because their time is really valuable. So they will fatigue, and it can be problematic for someone who works in a sales capacity, and we work in a sales capacity, trust me. Then having something of value that you can reach out to, that's not just, hey, hope you're doing well, or happy holiday. No, this is like something tangible that they may want to consider, or something that has changed in the business, and it's good for them to know. And it's a value add to having a reason to ping someone. I hope that made sense. I was riffing on that one, but it's 100% true. I know, because before I did this internet stuff back in the mid 90s, I sold cars for a little while. And let me tell you, you don't just grab somebody and drag them out of their old jalopy and stick them in a brand new car. It's a process. You want their name. You want to have an opportunity to talk to them. If they walk off the lot without buying that day, you're going to call them a week later, say, hey, we've got another one that similar to the car you were looking at, that's a different color. If you're still in the market for it, come down, take a look. I'll be here till 7 or something like that. That is a meaningful ping. That is adding a value to the reason why you reached out to someone. So number 9 being, I don't know if and when a client will come back. Got to own that one. Number 8. Wait, 8. I'm struggling with the numbers today. 8. I'm often the bottleneck. This is very true, and it's painful. And this is one I personally struggle with tremendously. And I've designed okay systems. I've designed systems with big agencies before that ran like clockwork. But when it comes to my own company, it's a bigger nut to crack. It's the critical thing to do if you feel like you're the bottleneck, or if you literally are the bottleneck, or the reason why work isn't advancing. Maybe you've taken on too many projects and there's a stop-go function, or maybe deadlines kind of overlap and intersect, and all of a sudden you're like, I have 5 things to do today and I've got 4 hours. So designing systems for asynchronous communication is critical to helping relieve any bottleneck. Another one would be time blocking. Like, really know when you want to lock in heads down time to do fulfillment, to do calls, to do content. I actually being disciplined about that has changed my life. It changed my business dramatically. It's the most, I had no idea I was going to enjoy this much. Time blocking, no idea going in. Now I'm like dependent on it. Another one would be SOPs. Having the ability to train someone when you bring them in and show them how to execute on a process, even if you're self-employed or you're a freelancer or you do HVAC on the side. Look, an SOP, if you need to bring in an apprentice or an executive assistant or a VA or something, having SOPs is a big help. I'm still generating SOPs. I'm actually terrible, and I don't even enjoy making SOPs. I don't have nearly enough of them. My team will tell you I don't even when I have them, I struggle to hold them accountable against them. So it's true that SOPs are helpful, and they're great for teaching someone a process and holding someone accountable to a process from a quality standpoint. I know when I've been a creative director and set up processes inside of an agency in the past, I've done it multiple times. SOPs saved my bacon many times, and they're critical if you ever want to sell the company. The first thing, any company I've been at that was about to get acquired, we went on a massive SOP build, made folders, binders this thick, full of SOPs for every single one of our processes. It was the deals are almost contingent on it. So they have their place. I know it's just another thing to do. It's such a pain in the ass, but SOPs are helpful. And I think I'm talking to myself with that one. Number 7, I was quick with that one. Proposals, SOWs, that's a statement of work. Invoicing is a ton of work. It's a ton of work. Back in the olden days when I would create proposals and statements of work and manually build invoices, when I first started my company 5 years ago, just over 5 years ago. Wow, that's amazing. You would spend an entire day on a proposal, easy, or a half a day on a proposal, a half a day on the statement of work, half a day on an estimate, maybe 2 hours on an estimate here. And then you had, some invoices to create, on the last day of the month or the first of the month, whenever you make them or whatever your system is for that. Those are days, those are times, those are hours you can't get back. And the thing about proposals, estimates, statements of work, sometimes statement of work, it's not actually guaranteed that you're going to be doing the work. So if you spend 4 hours on a proposal and you send it out and you don't get the work, those 4 hours are gone and you could have been doing something else in the business. So go get any documentation. You can use something like Dubsado, Honeybook, Hello Bonsai, or you can use QuickBooks. It's a little more challenging, but you can use QuickBooks. You can do other applications like Panda Docs and stuff like that, and create automation and have templates so that hopefully you can get those things banged out in an hour and then send it off and then go back to your day. If you're in a business that requires that much admin work, because the burden of all that time and that loss is going to be just too much. It was for me. So number 6, chasing down overdue payments. This is painful. And there are some ways around this. You can offer an early pay discount. You can offer a discount for ACH transfer to avoid utterly stupid paper checks, which lose weeks. And if you're working on thin margins, those weeks are critically important. I've been there in the past. I've been there, and it's not fun. The next one would be the time required to follow up and the drama and the stress around, hey, so-and-so, I know you haven't paid your invoice yet. Just let me know if you need a hand with that, or if you lost it, or if you need me to send it again, or whatever. You can, or even worse, we're going to stop supporting you. We're going to stop doing this work. We're going to stop saying, like, anytime you have a negative or threatening conversation, it erodes the relationship. It may not always erode trust. You could have a great relationship with someone and they may feel bad and know that they owe you money. They may know that they owe the business money, but it's out of their control. The accounting department or procurement or some other division in the company might actually be dragging their feet. They may not understand the terms. They may not care about your terms because you're a small company. All those things happen. I prefer, personally, get a credit card on file. The card gets charged automatically. I don't want to be sending out invoices. I'm allergic to invoices because I hate chasing down late ones, and it happens way too often to be worth I don't want to say it's not worth the time. Chasing down overdue payments is absolutely worth the time because they committed to paying and you want them to pay, you need them to pay. But at the end of the day, there is enough automation and technology available to us to make that way less painful, if not even completely painless. And it's too big of an opportunity. Number 5, having to justify your pricing over and over again. In the short, I said, if your value isn't obvious, make it so, which seems flippant in hindsight. I wish I'd have handled that differently. You're justifying your pricing because really of the next one, number 4, but you're justifying your pricing over and over again because content isn't enough. Being available isn't enough. Having a great portfolio isn't enough. I'm going to jump right into number 4 because there is paper thin differentiation. If you've ever looked at a lot of resumes and hired someone, all these resumes really do start looking the same after a little while. Well, if you're a business owner or a leader and you're looking to hire someone, every portfolio looks the same. Everybody's before and after photos largely look the same. And it's a big challenge to figure out why someone is different. Because if they're just hiring you based on time, they're really just hiring hands with some expertise. They're not purchasing an outcome. They're not investing in a transformation. There's the rub. You have to justify your pricing because you're struggling to illustrate that transformation. You haven't put a name on it. You haven't named your process. You haven't named that transformation, and you haven't celebrated that outcome enough times through case studies, through testimonials. So number 5 being having to justify your pricing over and over again is absolutely something you can overcome, but it is an act of content creation and it is a big leap. Make sure you automate getting testimonials. Email people, follow up after they pay their invoice. Hey, a week later or 2 days later, hey, leave me a testimonial. I'd love it. Appreciate you. If you already did, thank you again. It's a great way to feed that engine without you having to chase it constantly, because it feels awkward to chase down anything, a testimonial, stuff like 3 months after a project is done. Like, oh, hey, maybe I should get a testimonial. I should probably sailed. So something to think about. And with number 4, paper thin differentiation, yes, every portfolio looks the same. You've got to have a process. You've got to pull forward what makes you unique, because you absolutely are unique. You have a monopoly on who you are and how you do things. Illustrate that, share it, show the world. Show the world. You don't have to go live here on YouTube like me. You can do it any way you want. You can write articles. You can go on Instagram and do shorts and reels. You can put in carousel graphics, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But the differentiation is what your business produces, that transformation. Name your process, name the transformation, name the celebration at the end, name your delivery. Those are branding assets that have value. Tremendous value. And I think that a lot of people, especially freelancers in this digital game, overlook that, like way overlook that. And it's unfortunate. Number 3, relying on referrals is unpredictable. Whoo, boy, howdy, is that true? Look, they're great. Referrals are amazing. And it's absolutely how I built my business in the beginning. But they can't be relied on, right? They run into several roadblocks. Someone's only going to refer you so many times. And if you haven't really differentiated yourself, and if you haven't niched down, it's really difficult for someone to refer another person they know to you because they don't know exactly what it is that you do. I know someone who roughly works online. I know someone who roughly makes websites, even though you just do Shopify or Squarespace or whatever it is. So it's critically important that we move away from relying on referrals, because referrals are going to come, and the more work you do, the more opportunities there are for referrals. There's automation in asking for referrals, just like there are with testimonials, but content, leaving a trail. These videos, I've made over 100 videos here on YouTube, and I'll tell you, they're breadcrumbs. Once in a while, someone says, I saw your video on YouTube. That was pretty cool. Tell me about it. I think it's pretty cool to use some of my video on YouTube. So referrals come from content. They don't have to come from, well, they can and should come from content. They don't have to come from other people or word of mouth. While those are great, investing in yourself, investing in the business by showing your work, filming yourself doing it live. If you, like I used tile earlier, like do a time lapse of you installing tile. Just put your phone on a tripod and leave it over here and call it a day. Send that video out tonight in 15 minutes, put it on Instagram, and you're good. Keep doing that. Keep doing it over and over. People love stories behind the scenes. They love to see action. They love to see your success. The 1,000 people you've worked with over the last few years on LinkedIn that are all contacts want to see you having success. You go on LinkedIn and say, we launched this, we did that, we published this. People are going to be like, yay, thumbs up. They're rooting for you. Those are all referral opportunities. Keep that tree growing fruit. I think I didn't just biff tan in that one, did I? I might have. And I might have dated myself with that reference. Number 2, project income shifts dramatically. Yeah, the feast and famine cycle of project work is painful. And I mentioned earlier that while you're working on a project is the time when you should be doing your marketing. It's hard to do both, work on the business and in the business at the same time. I get it. But project income shifts dramatically, not just because we're busy on a project and there's that life cycle, that ebb and flow or feast famine, where you have a busy season, a couple of slow months, another busy season. Project work can also vary in total estimate, right? So if you have a project worth $5,000 and $50,000, they certainly have different priorities. They're different amounts of work, and they're completely different efforts entirely. But when you're kind of working through that project lifecycle and that shift from one project to the next, and you're trying to maintain the business and get bigger projects, raise your prices. And it doesn't matter what you do. Like I said, you could be a plumber. If you're trying to raise your rates, or you're trying to raise the cost of a specific project, even if you've productized it, then that is difficult to scale income or revenue when you are forced to add bodies. Because if all you're selling is time, then you have to add time, and you can only add so many hours to your week. I know I can only add so many to mine. So really, you have to start adding bodies. And next thing you know is you're building out a big company. That may or may not be what you want. If it's what you want, go for it. But you don't have to add bodies to increase the consistency with income and revenue. You can create all kinds of digital products or physical products and do things that prove your expertise and sell your expertise in any number of ways that you only have to create once, and those can resell. Like my course on better design review meetings. It's $49. It's not expensive. Sell a few of those here and there. Hey, it's a couple $100. It's something, right? So that's what I'm talking about. Getting out of that feast and famine cycle. Like I said, I've completely productized my offering, and now I sell a subscription, and that revenue just continues to stack as we add subscribers. We've lost a few subscribers over the years, but in general, it went from nothing to several $1,000s a month. And that I'm not relying on one big whale client for my revenue to hit in any particular month or quarter or year is a game changer. Because when you have a high percentage client, that's 30%, 80%, whatever it is of your total revenue, when they move on, they get acquired, they go out of business, whatever it is, you're standing there again in another famine cycle. And that's no fun. Whereas if you have a subscription or a digital product business, sales can slow, but any one of like my subscription clients, if someone unsubscribes, that's 3%, 1%, somewhere in there of total revenue. So it doesn't affect the business in a dramatic way. It affects my heart because I love all my clients and I don't want them to go anywhere, but I understand life happens and business happens, and it's okay. That's what I'm saying, is finding a way to not be affected by whales and that feast famine cycle of project work, and that dramatic shift in income is a game changer for the business. And number one, I can't believe I've been going for almost 20 minutes. 25 minutes. The number one thing that people get wrong when they start freelancing is they have no long-term strategy or exit plan. Just going in, we're billing for hours, and we're going to call it a day. This might be number one on the list, even though it's probably the number 2 reason for burnout. But I'm here to tell you that understanding not just some cheesy Simon Sinek, know your why. Sure, that's great. I have one. It's on my wall. I see it every single day. I know why I do what I do and why I'm trying to build the business that I'm trying to build. But if you don't think about the exit plan and your long-term strategy, are you really going to be sitting there pushing pixels in Photoshop at the age of 75? I would argue no, but maybe you will. If Photoshop even exists by the time you're 75. Know what you're trying to build and know what you want to do from an exit standpoint. And it helps to know how mergers and acquisitions kind of works. And they call that market M&A. A service business, like an agency or a freelancer or someone who we make this thing for this digital platform or these types of businesses in this industry, and we help them with this particular outcome. Those businesses are often worth about 3 to 5% of whatever contracts are on the books. Whereas a product business, whether it's a productized service or if it's, soup, shoes, these businesses often sell for 7 to 10x of whatever contracts are on the books, or whatever sales are over a certain period of time. And it varies by industry. And I am absolutely not an M&A expert, but I will say that having a productized service is a very different exit strategy than being a freelancer and decided I'm just going to hang it up one day, or being a freelancer and say, I've got these 18 clients, would somebody like to purchase them? The value of that isn't very high. So knowing what you want to do when you retire, or if you want your company to be acquired, if you want to sell it, if you want to just walk away and call it a day, that's fine. There's no shame in that game. I'm just saying, think about it. Think about your long-term strategy and your exit plan. I think this is the number one thing, because what that really gives you, if you have an understanding of what that is a goal. It gives you a directional force. It gives you something to think about that says, hey, I'm designing this to do this, and this is the outcome I want. Then it helps the decisions that we make. And that is tremendously valuable. So I hope this was helpful. I was going to rename these. I was going to go back through the list, but since I'm 30 minutes in, I may not do that. Okay, number 10. I'm going to do it. Ready? Number 10, time off forfeits income. Number 9, I don't know when or if a client will come back. Number 8, I'm often the bottleneck. Number 7, proposals, SOWs, and invoicing are a ton of work. The number 6 would be chasing overdue payments. Number 5, the number 5 reason, or the number 5 thing that people get wrong when they start freelancing is that they have to justify their pricing over and over again. and they haven't built a system to get out of that. Number 4 would be paper thin differentiation. And I elaborated on that probably more than necessary. Number 3 would be relying on referrals and their unpredictability. Number 2 would be project income shifts dramatically. Oh boy, is that true. And then number 1, no long-term strategy or exit plan. You know, my eyes were dipping because I was reading from my list. I didn't want to get any of those wrong or out of order. Anyway, thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. Have a great week next week. Go get it. I'll be here next Friday, 11 a.m. Same time, same channel. You know the drill. And I am so incredibly grateful for you. If you sat through all 30 minutes of this, leave a comment. Give me a like and subscribe. You know, I'm technically supposed to ask you to do that before I get to the end of the video, but I'm terrible at it. So anyway, I appreciate the like. I appreciate the subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment. Call me crazy. If I missed one, if you think one of these 10 don't belong on the list and you think I missed one and you were like, hey, you dummy, you put it down in the comments. I super appreciate you. Have a good one.